Now that we've added a couple of different layers, let's add some more special layers to it. Go down to your Layers panel, and with the arch layers selected, let's add a fill layer. To do this, click on the little icon that has the round circle that looks like it's being cut in half. In our case, we want to fill this in with a solid color. From here, you can choose the color that you want it to be. Let's type in this case, a dark green value of 0C3303. When we say OK, you can see now how there is a solid fill color inside of this area. Now, this is a fun type of layer that allows you to change quickly whatever color you want it to be. So later on, if I wanted to, I could double click on it and open up the properties for it and be able to change it to any other color. If I don't like that, I'm going to hit cancel and go back. Of course, my green is obscuring my image that's below it. So in order to be able to see it, there's a couple of things I could do. In my Layers panel, with the Fill Color layers selected, you can drop the opacity of that layer. And you can see by doing that, it picks up on a little bit of the color, but also shows what's behind it. Let's set our opacity to be about 90%. So I'm going to type in opacity and click return. Another thing we can do is also change our blending mode. Change your blending mode from normal to hard light. Now it has the effects of blending it with hard light as well as dropping the intensity of that down to 90%. Now if you want to be able to view what your graphic will look like without having the little cyan bright blue guides along the edges, you can go up to View, down to Show, and uncheck Guides. This will turn off the guides without actually erasing them. Now let's emphasize the word Live by painting a little blue swatch behind it. The first thing we need to do is to pick out some colors to paint with. Pay attention at the very bottom of your tool panel that you have your two different color swatches. In Photoshop, by default, you can set these swatches to be black as your foreground color and white as your background color. Most of the time, the foreground color is what we're always working with. And again, you can click this little button to automatically reset it. Another place you can pick your foreground and background colors is in your Color panel. Notice in the Color panel, you've got the foreground and background as well as a little color picker. Just make sure that the foreground color is selected whenever you click on this Color panel. If you click on the swatch itself, this will bring up the color picker, and this will allow you to automatically pick whatever color you want it to be. I'm going to hit cancel. Rather than using that color picker, I'm going to use the eyedropper tool, which is found towards the top of your toolbox. With the eyedropper tool selected, this will allow me to click on the blue of the sky and pick up that particular color. When I let go, notice that the foreground color is set to that particular shade of blue. Now, when I click on the actual swatch itself, I can dial in exactly what I want it to be. So for instance, if I wanted it to be lighter, I can click on my little circle and drag it up into a lighter area. Or if I know my value, I can type it in down here. Let's get a lighter value and then say OK. Now let's paint in a new layer. With our Fill Color layers selected and the very bottom of your Layers panel, hold down the Option key if you're on a Mac or the Alt key if you're on a Windows and click Create New Layer. This will allow you to name the layer before we create it. So we're going to call this the Paint layer and say OK. With the Paint layer selected, let's grab our Paintbrush tool. The Paintbrush tool looks like a regular paintbrush, and if you don't see it, you can click and hold on it, and it may be hiding underneath some other brushes that look like a paintbrush, but it's not. Make sure you got the Brush tool. With this tool selected, pay close attention to the settings up here at the top. You can do a lot with the brush by clicking on the little drop-down arrow and doing things like changing the size of it, or the hardness, or the style of it. You can change what blending mode you're in, so make sure you're in normal with 100% opacity and 100% flow. Let's also find some different brushes by opening our Brushes panel by going up to Window, down to Brushes, and it'll pop open here. Now if you can't see all of your brushes, you can click and drag down, or you can scroll down. You may also want to click on the side of it and expand it out so that you can see them a little bit better. We want to open up our Special Effects Brush folder and choose this first one, Kyle's Spatter Brush. With that one selected, and we've got blue as our foreground color, we can click on the little icon here to close out your brushes panel. And let's click just behind the word Live and drag around. You can see by doing this, when you click and drag, it'll spatter out and expand out the look and feel of that paintbrush. Now if you let go of your mouse and you try to click again, it'll simply add on to that painting selection. If you feel like this is too much or it's not the effect that you want, let's undo what we've done. Go up to Edit and down to Undo Tool Brush. This will back it up one instance. We can go up to Edit and Undo Brush again until all of your brush strokes are completely gone. Brush a little bit smaller. Again, go to the Brush Tool options and click the down arrow. Let's set the size of it to be 80 pixels and click Return. Now when we click behind Alive, you can see how it will slowly build up a smaller area, and that'll give us a little bit more control over exactly how it looks. It may take a couple of clicks or a little bit of time to drag around it, but just simply drag around until you get some area that you like. This time, if you want to see the before and after, you can go up to Edit and choose Toggle Last State, and that'll undo it. Then you can go to Edit and Toggle Last State, and that'll redo it. In this case, on a Mac computer, this is Option Command Z, or if you're on a Windows computer, it's Alt Control Z. So Command Option Z allows you to, in one click, go back and forth and see both of those. And I like the look of that. Now's a good time to save as well. So let's go to File and Save and continue on. So the next problem I have is I really want this arch to be centered inside of this green area. So once again, I'm going to choose my double arrow move tool. And if I try to click on the area, it's not going to select the picture and move it over. Here's why. By default, this tool is automatically selecting whatever layer I'm clicking on. And since that green fill color is on top of my arch layer, it's making it impossible for me to choose the arch and drag it over. So to do this, to make sure I can select it, let's uncheck the Auto Select. Now I can literally click on the arch layer, and with that layer selected, I can drag it over and it doesn't affect any of the other layers. So I'm going to drag it over till it's right about here and nice and centered up inside of that area. But now I've got another problem. When I moved it over, I've got no picture that's on this particular side. So we're going to use some of Photoshop's powerful generative fill to be able to generate an image that can be placed inside of that area. Let's go over to our Layers panel and turn off visibility for everything but the arch layer. In order to do that, hold down the Option key if you're on a Mac or the Alt key if you're on a Windows, and click on the eyeball for arch, and that'll turn off everything but that layer. Now with that layer selected, let's grab our rectangle marquee tool and let's select this entire area on the left-hand side. So clicking and dragging over and beyond the necessary area, you can see how it easily selects that particular part. In my case, just make sure that you're going all the way to the edge and it's kind of overlapping a little bit on that layer. If necessary, you can make multiple selections until you get it right. Now in our contextual taskbar at the very bottom, we're going to click on Generative Fill. You could type in what exactly you want it to generate, but if you keep it blank, it's just going to look at the pixels and the picture that's around it in that layer, and we'll try to fill in something appropriate for that. So for this, I'm going to click Generate. This may ask you to agree to the AI Generative app, which is kind of like a sub-program inside of Photoshop. We're going to click Agree so that it can do its thing. You can see how it'll take a couple of seconds to think about it. And once it's finished, in the Properties panel, we'll have a variety of options to be able to look at. All right, Now that you see that it's generated it, check out the edge that I have over here. It does a really good job of filling in what it thinks is the most appropriate pictures or pixels for that area. Check out the layer I have. I've got a generative fill layer that has a mask and an image placed inside of it. And in my options, or excuse me, my properties panel, I've got other options to look at. Usually it will generate about 3 different versions that it feels could fit that area. If you click on these options, you can see all the difference that it has for this one. You can choose the one that you think best fits that area. I like this one, so I'm going to keep it. Now let's turn on all of the other layers and see what the whole thing looks like. Going back down to the generative fill layer, you can right click, or if you're on a laptop, can 2-finger click on the eyeball icon and tell it to show or hide all of the layers. This looks great. We're all finished with this, so let's go to File one last time and choose Save. And this Photoshop file is what you're going to upload to our class page for exercise credit.